What is the criteria for allowing cosmetic surgery? We have to be very careful about this area because we could fall into something which the Shaytan promised and swore that he would do, as he says in the Quran, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, and I will command them so much so that they will actually change the creation of Allah. And this, of course, is an ayah which has got interpretations, but I'm very confident that from the interpretations of the changing of the creation of Allah is too much messing about of the face and the body and whatever. And I'm going to have to get crude in this answer. So if you've got kids and you don't want people to hear this kind of stuff about, sexual matters of the body, then, turn it off right now. But for example, breast enlargement, I want my breast to be so big and so shaped, and I want my lips to be bee stung, or I don't know what new fashion baqwasi is these days. But everyone has got some kind of subjective idea of beauty, and that's the major problem here. The level of subjectivity creates a real instability and a real risk of us being swayed by powerful voices and movements, forces really, that have their own criteria, their own standards, and these, of course, they change from time to time, from country to country, from age to age. The things that I care about now, for example, which is hardly anything, I used to really think was the world and all that it contains 20 years ago. And so those who are psychologically weak and have low self-esteem, they can really start to believe that people who just by virtue of them having large social media followings, or because they're very, very funny, or because they're very X or Y, that they should then be copied, because people like to naturally copy others that they see successful and see as funny and see as powerful, and their conditions and standards are something that has nothing to do with this, with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course our criterion is the Quran and Sunnah, and there are little glimpses that make it clear that in general, we shouldn't be so obsessed with beauty and physical beauty, because as the Prophet ﷺ told us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at your faces but rather at your hearts. And there are multiple meanings there. It doesn't mean that we can't have makeup and make ourselves look good and beautiful, etc. And especially women who have a natural tendency and a desire to do so. And I'll be covering that in another video as well. But when it comes to actual these standards themselves, we have to be very careful that we don't get swayed by others and then lose our own constants and values. The Prophet ﷺ, for example, he prohibited, I know it sounds crazy now, but there was a time where women would like to space their teeth and in a certain way, and there are certain forms of, for example, making your hair look more fuller and whatever by giving extensions, and the Prophet ﷺ prohibited both of these. And then of course we all know about the eyebrows. I'll be covering that in a different video as well. And so we do have certain things that are allowed and certain things that aren't. So when someone asks what the criteria are, it's actually very difficult to state that because of the differences of people and time. We know that there are definitely certain haram things that we should avoid, and in general we should not fall into the same obsession that people are really showing in this. We have to be careful and value what our deen says over what other people make us believe we should.